First item, new councillor business. Councillor Wilbur.
We had a very successful city cleanup on Saturday. We were able to get all of the areas clean, so we had many groups that came back and took a second or a third location, and we got it all covered. I've had lots of feedback regarding the area behind the mall, so kudos to you guys, because that's been the thread on Facebook about how great it looks along the walking path. So I know you guys did good because I brought you more garbage bags. So I need to take it. But thanks to all the volunteers, but really, and thanks to the staff. They set it up, they take it down. It's just so easy and it runs so smooth. And the Kinsmen for feeding everybody and just all the groups that come forward. Rotary for looking after our seniors and stuff on May 5th and 6th did an awesome job. It's just been really good feedback. So it was an excellent and successful cleanup, and the weather was good for us. And then on the other note, we attended the NCLGA, and I was fortunate to be elected to the board, and I'm happy to move forward with that. And thank you to everyone for your support, and to Councillor Schumann, because everybody coming back from the morning session was wearing a Vote for Shaylee button, so she did her job. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor McFadden.
I've just been scooped. I did attend most of the North Central local government agenda, and congratulations to Councillor Wilbur for being elected. There was a fairly formidable list of pretty experienced folks, and I was really happy that she was able to come out on with a seat. So that's about it, Your Worship. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Malkinson.
Good morning, Your Worship. At the risk of repeating what's already been said, I did attend NCLGA last week, and one of the notable resolutions or outcomes that the group agreed on was a resolution promoting youth councils within each of the member communities. And I suppose before before I got rash and mentioned that it ought to be, or before I proposed that it happen here, I was wondering if perhaps I could have council's authorization to maybe find interested individuals for a youth council were it able to be brought about. Do you think a resolution would be required to go ahead with that?
So I certainly think it's a good idea and would support it, but maybe it would be appropriate if we put something together and bring it back for council's consideration at our next meeting, and that way we have something that council can consider, and we'll put some parameters around what it is we're thinking and what you're thinking you want to put together.
That sounds good. I could, well, we could do it in two ways. I could draft up a resolution, or we could resolve to have staff make a report on it.
Sure. Councillor Parslow, you had a question?
Yeah, well, I have a couple of things here, but further to that, I would like to see the terms of reference and so on for that, for sure. I have a matter, Mayor, for the in-camera.
Staff,
If
no.
I should have it added to the agenda. It's concerned, it's dealings between the city and contract we have with people.
We'll put it on the
And
closed.
I have some questions and concerns I need to.
Okay. We'll
Further.
pull it into closed. Is that when you want to do
Yes,
it?
yes, please.
Yeah.
Second point, the Peace Haven, as council knows, there's the ad hoc committee that's working to see if we can secure Peace Haven for seniors. Was successful in having a stay, if you like, in the proceedings, so that we have 90 days to put forward a proposal. The mayor is working with that committee as elected representatives of the village of Coos Coopy, myself, Rotary Club, and the Dawson Creek Society for Community Living. We're meeting tomorrow morning, a tour of the facility, and with a person who will be doing a building assessment, who's been somebody in the community is paying for that work as a private individual. and that will give us a stage 2 assessment, I guess, of the building. It passed stage 1 with flying colours. Ultimately, this was a result of a discussion with Chairman Goodings of the regional district. We, as part of that proposal, we were probably looking for all local governments to send some letter of endorsement to the project at a later date. Councillor Schumann, myself, and I don't think anyone else were at the art gallery. It's very well organised, art gallery fundraiser. Very well organised, great amount of art, wonderful music, and it's very professionally done. We do have some challenges in the amount of money people are willing to pay for art at these functions, so it's a good place to get a real good deal, but that's not the purpose. It's a fundraiser. But that was a good function. And all of my other liaison things are going on quite well. Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Was Duncan done?
Well, sorry, Duncan, I was just going to go back to that. Were you finished yours?
More or less, Your Worship, yes.
Thank you.
It's all good.
Good.
Good cutoff, Mayor.
Jim?
But on the topic raised by Councillor Malkinson, at the moment, were the mayor or Councillor Malkinson to come to me and ask for some research done on a youth council, I would say no, because there is no council resolution to expend staff time on that.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Of course, Your Worship. Sorry.
Councillor Schumann?
So my take on this is that you both could sit down and have a little chat about it, think about it,
Yep.
and bring something back for us to look at. I don't think that we need to bog down staff with this. It
I
could be
concur.
our thing.
Well,
your
You
thing,
bet, you bet.
Our thing.
Well, Duncan, Councillor Malkinson and I will have some conversation about it, and we'll bring it back for our next meeting.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Thank you. Anything further? Councillor Business? Thank you, everybody. Minutes of our regular meeting, item 3.1 of April 28th, 2014. Councillor Malkinson moved. Councillor McFadden seconded. Any errors or omissions? All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. Minutes of our budget meeting of April 28th. Councillor Wilbur, Councillor Schumann. Any errors or omissions? All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. Is there any business arising out of the minutes? Correspondence. Item 5.1. Councillor Malkinson.
Your Worship, perhaps a question to staff. How do we begin here? I'm not certain. Well, this letter is clear in its request, but should we resolve to agree to the proposal here from Regional Transit Systems?
Jim?
Through Your Worship, as you see by the letter, the extension would be between BC Transit and PWT as the operating company. It would actually not involve the city of Dawson Creek, but they certainly would take it under advisement if you were opposed to this extension. The purpose of the extension is so that the contracts, the operating contracts for Dawson Creek, Fort St. John, and Prince George would all expire at the same moment in an effort to have a large enough operating contract out to attract competitive bidding in the next process. And in return for which the you see the financial figures in the letter, there's a cost certainty in the 3-year extension. And so on a staff level, we see no reason to for council not to approve the extension. The situation here has been that only one of the large transit operating companies has been attracted to bid in either Fort St. John, Dawson Creek, or Prince George. And sole bidders, over time, that doesn't work to keep the pricing down. So I understand why BC Transit would like to induce others to bid.
Thank you. Councillor Parslow?
I move that this item of correspondence be received by council.
Thank you. Seconded. Councillor Wilbur, discussion. Councillor Schumann, did you have a question?
I was thinking we could make a motion to approve
Okay,
the extension.
thank you.
I don't know if that's the same as receiving it or not.
Okay. Further discussion?
So, I'm confused. So we're receiving it, we're not gonna do anything with this? Because then I would vote against
Okay.
receiving it, because I think we should approve the extension.
All right, Jim?
I believe Transit would, since they've specifically asked for your approval, if you take no action, they will assume you don't approve.
Okay,
What the consequence of that is, I couldn't tell you.
thank you. Further discussion? Councillor Malkinson?
Well, perhaps before we went ahead, maybe I could maybe I could dare to ask for a little bit of Councillor Parslow's rationale in moving to receive for information. This seems like a effort to increase competitiveness and bring down prices. And despite the difficulties that we have with BC Transit in the interim, I think that
The difficulties.
it might be a good measure that could improve its performance. What do you think, Councillor Parslow? Yeah. Any thoughts?
I have lots of thoughts on this matter, but I heard the CEO said that if we don't have any objection. I thought he said we would. They were inquiring if we had any objections to this. So if we receive it, we don't have any objections to it. So.
Yeah.
Councillor Schumann?
I'm just reading subject, request for approval of transit term extension. Sounds like they're requesting something from us.
Clarification through to Jim then. So receiving it just means we're receiving it. We're not giving the authorization or the approval for us to say we're going to move forward with their request to extend the agreement.
Correct, Your Worship. The ask is that you do a resolution supporting. If you receive, you're taking no action. So we would be responding to them that we have no position on this as the city. I don't know what would be next then. I don't know if that would be sufficient for them to carry on or whether they would want to come back to you or not.
Yeah, I'm just reading their last paragraph. It says, if the city does not wish to extend the contract term, an RFP will be issued in the fall as planned, and BC Transit can consult with staff over the next few months to finalize the RFPs. Further discussion? So, motion is we're going to receive it for information, and so that doesn't give any direction to their request. It's just simply receiving this letter for information. You ready for the question? All in favor? Opposed? Defeated. Councillor Schumann?
I'd like to pose make a motion that we let BC Transit know that we approve of the transit term extension.
Thank you. Councillor McFadden? Seconded. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. Item 5.2, we have a letter from Clinton Shane Ekdahl, founder of the Day of the Honeybee, requesting, with various requests. Councillor Schumann?
For information, please.
Moved by Councillor Schumann, we receive it for information. Seconded.
For discussion, I'll second it.
Councillor Wilbur, thank you. So we do have, and just for clarification, in terms of part of the request and regarding the proclamation, as Jim, do you want to just clarify that for Council's policy?
Yes, Your Worship. Council's policy is you will only make declarations in the presence of a local delegation requesting it. You won't do it on a letter from someone outside the community. And that's a policy you've enacted just to try to keep the volume down to a manageable level. There are other requests in this letter regarding enacting a bylaw to allow backyard beekeeping, all sorts of other items that you have previously considered and rejected.
Thank you. Councillor Parslow?
Yeah, point of clarification, I guess. The question of backyard apiaries, I'm assuming from what staff just said that there is some prohibition in Dawson Creek around backyard apiaries.
Through your worship, your bylaw allows people to keep cats and dogs and virtually nothing else. You received virtually this identical letter last year, and didn't proceed, and then a local delegation did come forward, and one of the things they asked you to do was to consider a backyard apiary bylaw. It didn't go anywhere last year. It could this year. I don't know. That would be up to you.
Thank you. Councillor McFadden?
Thank you. I think we should, this is a serious issue in my mind, the demise of honeybees, and I think we should at least do the proclamation at our next council meeting for the 29th of May. I know they don't have I'll be the ad hoc delegation if you need that.
Thank you. Further discussion on the motion to receive? You ready for the question? All in favor? Opposed? It's defeated. Councillor Malkinson.
Does Councillor McFadden have a motion to make?
Go right ahead, young fella. I'll let you do it.
All right. I move that ourselves and His Worship, on behalf of the citizens, resolve to proclaim May 29th, 2014 as the 5th annual day of the, well, I would think the first annual in Dawson Creek Day of the Honeybee. Or second, is that right? We had one last year? Regardless, if the bylaw allows and that this proclamation be issued in perpetuity with Councillor McFadden being the local representative for the
We'll
for the
expect a
group.
speech. You better do some research.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for the motion?
Oh, I moved
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Sorry.
you moved it. Right. That's one of the rules.
Might be
We
my
don't do
unbossed
that.
for
Do
one.
both.
You can't move in second. Seconded by Councillor Schumann. Discussion. Councillor Parslow.
So I understand that we have a policy.
Yes.
I think the policy is well based in that we could receive things from all over the world on issues of the day, and I don't think it's wise to make ad hoc decisions like this. I would say Councillor McFadden has been reckless in taking on this challenge, and I think it's an unhealthy precedent. Council could be inundated with these sort of requests. So I will vote against this.
Thank you. Councillor Wilbur.
I just wanted to say, in the words of my Earth Ranger granddaughter, the Western bumblebee, Councillor Parslow, is on the endangered species list. So anything we can do to help the little guys out by making a proclamation, I think we should do that.
Thank you for clarification. The
Thank
policy
you.
is we don't sign a proclamation unless we have a local representative, and
We have one, it's
So
Mr. McFadden.
it seems
Well-
it might fit within the policy. Councillor McFadden.
Well, Your Worship, perhaps
granddaughter
I
could
was
be
being
the-
a bit reckless. It just occurred to me that if I were to be the ad hoc delegate, I would probably have to declare a conflict and leave the room while the matter was being discussed anyway. So it's sort of all for naught. So I'll withdraw my statement about being the ad hoc delegate.
I think there's some local Earth Rangers who could be
I don't know, but it's,
delegation.
Thank you. Jim.
Through your worship, perhaps we can reach out to the local beekeeping industry and see if there's someone who would like to be the local delegate at the next meeting.
Thank you.
And relieve Councillor McFadden of his conflict issues.
thank you.
Thank you. Are you ready for the question? All
Wait
in
a
favor?
sec.
Sorry.
The question is for Councillor McFadden to do it.
Take that part out.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The motion is for Councillor McFadden.
So
Just
we'll need to make.
perhaps the motion
a-
could just read that it'll come back with a local delegation
Yeah,
at the next
okay.
meeting.
Perfect.
Is that all right with you? Council,
of
you moved the motion?
Of course, yeah.
And who seconded? Wilbur or Schumann? Thank
Yeah,
you. Thank you. So we'll have a local delegate in attendance for the proclamation.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Are you ready for the question? All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. Great conversation and discussion. Appreciate the input.
You should come dressed as a bumblebee, though, just for fun.
I could track down a costume.
Item 5.3, we have a letter from Tracy Kraus. Councillor
Move that we
Parslow?
receive this letter for information.
Thank you. Second, McFadden. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. So we're a little ahead of time, so we'll move through our delegations and into reports. 7.1, we have a report from the Chief Financial Officer, Councillor Malkinson.
Move that we receive this report, number 14-085, and that we approve or the council approve the 2013 draft financial statements, and that the 2013 reserve transfer schedule be as presented, be approved as presented, I'm assuming, and further that a special meeting be held at 8:30 a.m. on May 14th, 2014, to formally approve the audited financial statements.
Thank you, Councillor. Seconded by Councillor McFadden. Discussion. Ready for the question? All in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. Report 7.2. Councillor Parslow.
Move that report 14-084 from the Director of Corporate Administration, re smoke-free public places, be received. Further, that a representative from the Canadian Cancer Society be invited to attend a 1 to 2 hour committee of the whole workshop to discuss various aspects of revised smoke-free public places bylaw and or policy.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Malkinson. Discussion. Councillor Malkinson.
I'd like to thank staff for their work on this, Your Worship. I think there was some great information presented, some great background work that was done as well, and I very much look forward to speaking about this further.
Thank you. Further discussion? I agree. I think it's, you read the report and the amount of information and work that's gone into it to understand this topic and the implications for us as a community and how we promote that healthy component. And then there's complexities in terms of any time you put into a place a bylaw that requires some component of enforcement. We understand that and understand how and what we do with that aspect of the accountability of the bylaw. So I think it's great stuff, and I think it's perfect that we bring it back to the committee of the whole and engage that conversation and we understand it more fully. So thank you. Councillor Parslow?
Can I just add
Sure.
to your, the big issue for me is enforcement, and that's something I hope to learn at this workshop, because there's no point having something if it's just going to be a piece of paper. I did notice that I don't know, I should have known this, but that we already have a 10-meter barrier for smoking at our city hall here. Correct? All city buildings, yeah.
Actually, all workplaces in BC.
All places. Okay. Good. I'll be looking forward to monitoring that.
That's the next break in council.
Yes, I'm going to walk down there and chaperone some people and see how that's being lived. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Any further discussion? Are you ready for the question? All in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. Item 7.3. Councillor Malkinson.
Move that we receive this report from the Director of Corporate Administration, and that communications plan, and further that the communications plan 2014 be approved as presented.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Schumann. Discussion? Councillor Malkinson.
Perhaps for my information, there was a number of things that just jumped out at me as I went through this, and perhaps I could just begin a few questions about the things that are included in here, if you would allow, Your Worship.
Yeah.
Just for my reference, I don't understand what, and you might think that I would, but I don't know what S-Drive and the city intranet are. What they're referenced in the policy, but I just wasn't sure.
Yeah, through Your Worship, the S-Drive is a shared drive that all departments have access to.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, we put documents on there that each department would need to access for their work if they have a shared responsibility on a certain project.
Mm-hmm.
It has become very cluttered, and so it's almost unusable because there's so much there. So we need to spend some time to really clean it up.
And the intranet?
Intranet is not yet.
Oh, okay.
We don't have one. It would be a website that's only available to staff, and it would
okay.
just be for internal communications only.
And I'm, Your Worship, assuming that this is what would be usable on the computers that are proposed to be in employee break spaces to become more connected with the organization. Is that right?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
The Public Works coffee room, or the internet would be a website that would come up automatically when you open your screen in the morning,
Yeah.
and it would show any information that staff should be
That's
made
cool.
aware of. Yeah.
Yeah. If I could just continue, thank you for that. I was kind of wondering about the goal mentioned in the report about responding to all public inquiries within 12 hours. Do you think that might prove to be onerous or difficult with a large request or a hard to find answer or something like that?
And that's something that the communication committee would discuss.
Hmm.
Different departments have different staff levels, and the different requests definitely, like you say, will take varied amounts of time to complete.
Mhm.
It's all based on the question.
Okay. And maybe just lastly, some parameters on another one of the goals that was mentioned in the report. Perhaps this is a question for our administrator, I'm not sure, but I see that a goal of the report is allocating resources, or is identified as allocating resources for economic development. I'm wondering if we're stepping ahead of one of our strategic priorities, if we're doing that. I'm not certain whether approval of this communications plan is tacit endorsement of every one of the recommendations. Is that the case, that these things will be implemented? Or is it that these are goals for the committee to reach?
The $20,000 that was budgeted for the communications plan is just, we needed something there that if, like the website needed to be revamped, if that was the first goal, that there would be funds available for that. And if council would like, we can bring back, if there is a large budget item that's part of the plan that's the next on the list, we could bring that back to council for approval prior to proceeding. But with this report, the website is part of the first few steps, so that might be where the $20,000 is put towards.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Approval of this report would approve that.
Perfect. Okay. And just lastly, I'm just wondering about the findings of the council survey that were forwarded to council in, I believe, November of last year. They were generally positive, I'm assuming. Isn't that right?
That I'd have to,
Oh, I'm sorry. That might have been a little too in depth. But I hope you don't take my questioning as any scrutiny or criticism or anything like that. There's just some things that I had wanted to understand. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Brenda. Further questions? You ready for the question? All in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. Thank you for that. So we're at 9 o'clock, and we'll move to our delegations. 6.1, we have Shirley Grayston, Gloria Carlstad, Bill and Lorraine Lawrence are hopefully in attendance. I don't have the proclamation. Or do I sign it? What's that? They just want it finished.
Anything?
Oh yeah, it's not a proclamation.
No, thanks, bud. I'm good, thank you.
Good morning.
Morning. No, I'm the corporate hugger.
Corporate hugger. Button that says that.
I'm okay with that. So we have a delegation here this morning, and they have a request. So I'll move it over to. So you're making a request this morning, I understand.
Correct.
Great.
On May 17th, 200 years years ago, the Norwegians were able to sign a constitution, and that was to declare them an independent country. The Danish country had been ruling, and so this year is 200 years, and it'll be a huge celebration, particularly in Norway, but it will be celebrated by Scandinavians all around the world. So we plan to celebrate tomorrow, our lodge will celebrate tomorrow, and because it didn't work out for us on the 17th. And so we are hoping that you will fly the flag starting tomorrow, because we'll be doing, I'll let Gloria explain the flag proceedings tomorrow, and then fly it right through till the 17th. So if, Gloria, you can explain the flag deal tomorrow.
What do you know? What we're gonna do tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay, she never warned me. We're gonna go to NAR Park and march and wave flags, and sometimes we have some music, and we have one person that is a drummer, and that's really nice to lead the parade. And we often have some tourists watching us. And then we're going to go to Chapel Hills Hall and have a meal, and we're choosing to have a cold plate, so it's kind of Scandinavian. And have just ordinary cold plate foods for us, and then we're gonna have a large cake for celebration.
So thank you so much for coming in this morning and raising this important date and celebratory opportunity for the residents of our community. And so we'll bring back the request for the council
Yes,
through
this
Mayor
is-
Stevens for the permission to fly the flag. Thanks very much. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Maybe you can collect the flag. and
Can
use
we
the station.
keep the flag just in case we
We'll
decide
get
we're gonna fly?
our director of community services to hold the
Hold
flag
the
for
flag,
us.
good.
And,
Well, we consider it.
Be very honored.
We'll look after that.
Okay, you'll look after that.
Thanks very much. Thanks for coming in.
I'll make sure I fly.
Were they? That's right.
Did you say you
Will there be enough
Yeah.
stuff?
Okay.
I don't think so.
Aw.
It's gotta buy that at the trade fair.
Oh, I got you.
The computer keeps wanting to restart it.
So our next delegation isn't set to arrive until 9:30.
And that's fine.
I saw someone up there.
Jim, do we have to do this at 9:30?
Yes, you do. It's, because it's actually a hearing, you have to conduct it at the time
All right,
listed.
great. So we'll move back into our regular agenda then and pick up with our reports. And next item was 7.4, the report from Director of Corporate Administration, Councillor Wilbur.
I'd like to make the motion on report number 14-087 from the Director of Corporate Administration regarding the Residential Development Committee be received. Further, that staff be directed to advertise for committee members in the local paper and social media for a further 2 weeks.
Seconded by Councillor Malkinson. Discussion. Councillor McFadden.
I don't know if I can agree with this or not, Your Worship. I kind of like option 3 given to us by staff. And it says that council may choose to abandon the committee and reconsider zoning amendment bylaw number 4204 based on the information already gathered. And we do have, I think, 6 people in the committee. Why we need to have more, anybody can appear before the committee if they want, but I think we need to, I don't know what more information we would get than we already have. I think it'll be the same folks telling us the same thing, so I don't think I can agree with this. We'll see what happens during the vote.
Thank you. Further discussion, Councillor Parswell.
Well, I'm a little confused, my colleague over there. He was attracted by the number 3 of the staff alternatives, which was to abandon the committee. Then I got the impression that he felt there were sufficient members for the committee and that we no need to advertise for more. So, point of clarification, are you saying that you'd like to see the committee abandoned, or
Well-
just go with the 6?
Well, those were my reasons. I don't know why we need to advertise for more. If that's the direction council wants to go, we have a committee. And I think I saw here where they had sent out 150 letters to folks around town. Well, I don't suppose we'll be having a committee of 150 people, but we may have 150 people appear before the committee should it proceed that way. But I'm saying I don't know what else we could learn other than what we already have information, and I think we just go back to 4204, if that's the right number.
4204, yeah.
And do it. So we'll see what happens when we get through the vote here.
Thank you. Councillor Wilbur?
Actually, well, one thing, dynamic that I see is not represented there is through our BC Housing, so our low-income self-advocates that we had originally talked about going forward, that maybe we'd like to have somebody from that group in our community on the committee. And I did talk to a lady on Saturday at the cleanup who's has great issues around what's happening to her and her income, and what would be available to her as someone that had a secondary suite, and maybe would look at that fixed income dynamic of our community. So I think for 2 weeks, I think it's important, and I think that we can reach out to those people and see if they can have a representative come and sit on this committee as well. There are greater issues here than just secondary suites. That was the point of forming the committee. So I don't think stepping backwards and just dealing with secondary suites is going to solve our issues. So I would like to see it go forward. It's 2 weeks. I don't think we're going to do any damage.
Thank you. Councillor Parslow?
Yes, like Councillor McFadden, number 3 did stand out to me, and I was kind of wondering, the staff could share what they meant by the based on information already gathered. That isn't information gathered since this original motion, it's prior to that. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. As Councillor Wilbur has just stated, this whole topic has many, many ramifications. In addition to affordable housing, there's a whole rooming house issue that is just causing all sorts of problems. So it isn't just secondary suites. It's and the design of houses and subdivisions, etc. It's the whole gamut of how we continue to make this place affordable for low-income people, and how we deal with the issues associated with rooming houses. So I am in favour of the recommendation of staff that has been made by the motion made by Councillor Wilbur.
Thank you. Further discussion? Are you ready for the question? All in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. Do you want that recorded, Councillor McFadden? Thank you. Item 7.5. Councillor Malkinson.
Move that we receive this report from the Deputy Director of Infrastructure and Sustainable Development regarding the infraction bylaw number 3123, and that Council deny Ms. Johnston's request to reimburse the $800 bill for her parking infraction.
Thank you. Seconded. Councillor Parslow. Discussion? And this is just simply the report that's coming back to council as a result of the delegation, Ms. Johnson, that appeared before us 2 weeks ago. For clarification, any further discussion on the motion? All in favor? Sorry, Councillor Malkinson?
Forgive me, Your Worship. I'm assuming that the findings in the report, i.e. the answers to some of the questions that she raised at the meeting, will be communicated to her.
I'm seeing administration acknowledge that, so yes.
Nodding their heads. Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. Oh, sorry, you want that recorded,
Yes,
Councillor McFadden?
Yes, please.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
It's fine. I'm used to it. Just like
I'll do a
home.
better job next
Just like at home.
I've got something in my eye on the side, and it's item 8.1 bylaws, financial plan bylaw.
Reports.
7.6.
We didn't, 7.6.
7.6.
I wanted to go right on by that, baby. 7.6.
I would like to make the motion there for that recommendation, if you want me to. Or,
Sure.
Okay.
I'll second it.
So I'll read it, the report number 14-088 from the Deputy Director of Community Services, read 2014 City Hall flooring capital project be received. Further, the council directs staff to split the 2014 City Hall capital project into 2 phases. Phase 1 being the removal and installation of carpet on the 3rd floor of City Hall, as well as minor renovations to the finance customer service counter, and Phase 2 being the removal and replacement of the carpet on the main floor of City Hall, as well as broader renovations to the finance department.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Schumann. Any discussion on the motion? I think it's, honestly, having been in here, I think it's absolutely appropriate. As a community, you talk about the improving the infrastructure and the appearance of your community. This upstairs in this city, it's a real welcome bit of work that we need to do in terms of doing a little bit of cosmetic improvement to our city hall. So I really appreciate that. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. Item 8.1, our financial plan bylaw. Councillor Malkinson.
I move that we adopt it, Your Worship.
Thank you. Seconded, Councillor Schumann. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 8.2, tax rates bylaw. Councillor Schumann. Moved. Seconded, Councillor Wilbur. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. Local area service parcel tax roll preparation bylaw. Councillor McFadden.
So moved.
Moved. Seconded, Councillor Malkinson. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. 8.4, local area service parcel tax bylaw. Councillor Wilbur. Seconded, Councillor Schumann. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. Holy moly, macaroni.
Keep
Good
rolling.
job.
Keep
Just
rolling.
made lots of time for you.
Maybe we can get through the mayor's business.
We love you
quickly.
people. Making time for the mayor. So the first item I wanted to bring forward this morning was the issue on the temporary foreign worker program, and it got escalated over the last number of weeks in terms of the controversy, it seems, that's been created by the program federally and certainly for us provincially and locally as a region and a community around the temporary foreign worker program. And so for us as a community, in the strong economic conditions that we face, and I used an example a couple of years ago in my retirement days when I would come home from the lake, and one day I come home from my cabin. It was about 6 o'clock. I phoned my bride. I said, "Baby, don't cook me dinner. Don't hold it. I'll stop and grab something." I stopped at A&W, closed at 6 o'clock because they didn't have workers. And it was amazing to me how that program has filled an opportunity in our community to provide in the hospitality industry as a specific example, but certainly there's other industries that have benefited our community in terms of providing that void that existed and has existed. So I would really like to see us and move forward with a letter supporting the process of the temporary foreign worker program in terms of ensuring that they get it back on track as soon as possible. Councillor Parslow.
That's for the food services industry.
Well, the whole hospitality industry.
Hospitality,
right?
sure.
Yeah.
I would certainly support that. I think the federal government has approached a shotgun approach, and again, one size does not fit all. The situation in the north is quite different, and especially in the northeast, where there's lots of employment than Victoria. So I would support such a letter.
Thank you. Do you want to, by the way of a motion, or are you just
Sure.
So
Do you wanna
moved.
make a motion?
move?
I'll
Seconded?
second it.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Carried. I just wanted to also bring up quickly 9.2, the Northern Development Initiative Trust and the Economic Development Capacity Building Funding. And so we received a letter I did just a week ago, I guess, Brenda, in regards to on approval for funding. And Brenda, do you want to just give us a quick update on that funding announcement they give us?
Yes, through your worship, each year the city applies for economic development capacity building funding, and that those funds are funds that we spend over and above our budget amount just to increase our economic development capacity. And so we apply every spring, and if we're approved through the year, we spend additional amounts on anything from advertising to communication efforts. Upgrades to the website can't be put towards regular maintenance, but anything that we're improving on our economic development, we can use those funds for. Then we apply at the end of the year, and we can get up to 50,000 for this year in addition.
So it's just, to me, it's a great indication for us as a community and for the residents to say, you know what, the Northern Development Initiative Trust does provide us some support into our community and allow us to do certain things within our operations that are a huge benefit. And there's a funding announcement from NDI for us in terms. So I just thought it was important we bring it back to council and inform you guys as well as council and citizens. Brenda?
Yeah, one other item that we can put that funding towards is when we have to hire a consultant to help with a communication plan, such as Surewater. We can put that money towards that cost.
Yeah. Thank you. Any questions about that? The next item I wanted to talk about, we held was our Surewater Forum, and we had our public meeting on Thursday evening, and at the Encana Event Center, and it's the continuation of that discussion that we've been holding as a community over the question about water and how it relates to the future that we move towards. And so from a couple of perspectives, as my first participation in the Surewater Forum, one, I was so happy to see such a great turnout. There had to be 70, 80 people in attendance, and great coverage and great interaction by the community in terms of questions and interaction and challenging. But we spent 2 or 3 hours there on Thursday night just engaged in the dialogue about what we do and how we move forward with this. One of the critical, we talked about the development of our community as it relates to our zoning bylaw for the building component. To me, is a huge conversation that we have, but the core of our community is wrapped around water, sewer, roads, and things like that. And this water one is certainly important, critical for us, and I was really happy with the discussion and look forward to now the further feedback from the residents as they obviously demonstrate that passion they have for water in our community and how we move that forward in terms of answering that question. I was surprised personally because the assumption in my mind has been, as a result of the surveys last year, that it was pipeline. And the conversation the other night was certainly not pipeline, but more balanced about understanding now some components around costs and impacts to that, and understanding the infrastructure as it related to a supply from Bear Hole Lake and our reservoir system and things like that. So I think that whole aspect for people and understanding, getting information that they help them guide their understanding of it and the decisions they make on how they want us to proceed was so good the other night. So appreciate staff and everybody putting all that work together. Kevin and Shelley leading the presentation material and all the support from our staff. And then obviously the people that were in attendance, both people from our community as well as our rural neighbors who were obviously engaged in the conversation and discussion, and it was really well done. So like I say, I look forward to people participating now in that survey mechanism that's there and help us guide that direction that council take and start to move this forward in the coming year. So anyway, it was very, very good. So Jim first.
Just a reminder to the community, your worship, if you'd like to move the discussion up a notch in your own household with your family or with your neighbors, You can come on in and see Kevin Henderson and get a little discussion video that can kick things off, and you'll get a free pizza to eat while you're having the discussion.
Thank you. Councillor Parslow?
Thank you. Yeah, I was proud of staff that night. I always am pretty proud of them. Not all the time, maybe. in the gym.
Thank you for your qualified support, Councillor Parslow.
No, I thought they were just very professional and great. But this is, I'm hoping, one of our goals is an informed and engaged community, and yeah, I was pleased with the turnout. But there's a long way to go, I think, before we really can say we've got an engaged community, a long, long way to go. There's a lot of complexity, and some people don't like to engage with complexity. They want black and white, and there's a lot of gray in this. And there's also competing interests. There's a clash of interests, and there's lots of misinformation out there as well. But one of the things that I think is not clear is that council it was stated that we were avoiding making a decision. We were passing the buck onto the community. And that's not the case. But I think council is quite prepared to make a decision after it has truly got input from the community, and the community is understanding of the facts here. It's a process, and Shorewater Stage 2 is just part of a long-term process. You don't engage in decisions with possible expenditures anywhere from, you name it, from 50 to 100, who knows what millions of dollars, as well as issues around the water plant, distribution, etc., etc. I think the city has done a lot of good work over the years prior to this council and this council as well. And I think the way we're approaching this water issue is respectful of the community. There are conspiracy theorists out there. So it does add some internal entertainment to me, because there's no conspiracy as far as I can dissect. With council's open and is learning, and the community hopefully is learning. I think what you said is right on. But one thing that I'm wondering at a future council meeting, for my education, and maybe the education of all council, is I'd like to really have some discussion around the licensing. How a council or how an organization like the oil gas industry gets a license for a new water source. I think it's involved. There's a new legislation that governs water now, and staff has told me that the regulations, the act's proclaimed, but the regulations haven't been worked out yet. But I just think that, and this is prompted from two people who asked me, well, how does a city get a license? Maybe all this discussion is a waste of time if the city doesn't stand a chance of getting a license to the piece. So why bother if you don't? So what is the likelihood? What tests would we have to reach? Or what standards, what data would we have to provide? And of course, all that may be on paper, or needs to be put on paper by government, but then of course there's always the political decisions. It's a complex thing, but I just like at a future meeting sometime to understand the existing regime for water licenses and some assessment of our likelihood of us being successful, or what might improve our chances. That's not to say that I'm saying we need a new water source. It's just a piece of information I've been asked for, and I don't have the foggiest idea about that.
Okay, we'll make a note of that, and then we'll try and plan that for a future meeting for that information. Further questions, comments? So again, thanks administration, staff, public who participated in it. It was very, very well done. North Central Local Government Association, congratulations to Councillor Wilbur for getting elected and for everybody attending, and great participation by council at that. I really appreciate that attendance and seeing people involved and engaged in that process. The one thing on Friday, on behalf of, through the Peace River Regional Hospital District, we had held a meeting with Northern Health, and so there was various issues brought up to Northern Health in the opportunity that was presented to us for them being there. Dr. Jago as the chair and Kathy Ulrich as the CEO. So obviously the Fort St. John physician issue was brought up by Fort St. John. I raised the whole topic again about our master planning for the Dawson Creek and District Hospital in terms of ensuring that we see that process and work with MLA Bernier in terms of ensuring we continue to advocate on behalf of not only the city of Dawson Creek, but our rural communities that Pooskoopi, Chetwynd, Tumbler Ridge, who are also interact with that hospital on a great amount of basis for their residents. So we certainly raised the issue again with Northern Health to ensure that that process continues to move forward. And they've assured me that it is. They are interacting and meeting with the minister, and through that administrative process, they're set to move forward now with the next stage in that master planning process. So it is continues to move forward, and we'll work and continue to work with MLA Bernier and Northern Health in advocating that important project for our community. And the last one that I didn't put on here, but I attended the high school rodeo, was in the Lakota Center and the exhibition grounds on the weekend. And, you know, we think about the rodeo as being the exhibition and rodeo being in our community in August, and it's a 5-day event, but there's so many events that go on that are ongoing on a regular basis in that facility and at the exhibition grounds, and the amount of kids and young people participating in the whole rodeo and gymkhana type events. I think there was, I sat and watched for 2 hours yesterday, and there was like 60 competitors in one event yesterday. So it's amazing to me how busy that event center is in relation to the Lakota Riding Center. Congratulations to the whole region of hosting participants from all the way from Quesnel and out east into St. Paul and places like that. It's a busy, busy location, so my congrats to them. And the last item I want to talk about is I think I raised with council, and I want to raise with council, is the intersection improvement. I think that we should be considering and looking at 17th Street and Alaska Avenue. And we talk about the development that's going on up in the north side of town. We put a sewer trunk line in place to ensure we have adequate infrastructure for the growth of our community. And clearly the traffic that's coming into the downtown core now from the north side of town, with all the new development that's going on up there, traffic is not going to get better. And through Kevin and the community doing the master transportation planning, that intersection at 17th and Alaska Avenue is a busy, busy intersection. It's not going to get less. And so to me, I'd like to look at us and see if we can direct administration to look at improving that intersection. I think we need to widen it. I think the objective is we put signs in for traffic coming southbound off of 17th Street. We put signs in, we put markers in, we try to create a straight through lane and a left turning lane. And it's just the original purpose of that intersection was a single lane going northbound, southbound. And I think we need to look at the opportunity of trying to widen it now. Our home supply is unfortunately is a business that's vacant today, so we've got some property available on the north side of the intersection as well as the south side, and I'd like to explore that in terms of seeing what it would take for us to be able to improve that intersection while the opportunity exists today, because once it's developed on, it's going to be that much more difficult for us to plan anything. Anyway, it's just I'd like to pursue it. Councillor Malkinson.
Well, I living in the north part of town, I can certainly sympathize with your comments. Very well placed. There may be some existing recommendations from the Transportation Master Plan and other work that has been done in the past. I'm wondering if staff has any comment on that.
Through your worship, the Transportation Master Plan has looked at a number of ways of relieving this issue of the increased traffic loads from the north portion of town. The primary recommendation in the transportation master plan is that you complete the through route of 13th Street.
Yeah.
That's an enormously expensive project. I think what the mayor is talking about here is more an interim step that might be accomplished at a more manageable cost. However, that would require land acquisition, and staff can't undertake investigation of whether such an acquisition is possible or what it would cost, absent a direction from council. We'd need a direction to do that.
Thank you. Councillor Parslow?
Yes, I'd be prepared to make a motion that staff give a report around possible ways of improving that intersection, including land acquisition matters, because you're so right, it is a golden opportunity that might be passed over. Notwithstanding the great work that was done in the master plan and possible relief that the 13th Street extension might provide as an alternative, I do think the safety of people, we should explore that thoroughly. Yeah. So
Thank
I'd
you.
like to make that as a motion.
Thank you. Secretary, Councillor Schumann. Discussion?
Your worship,
Councillor Malkinson?
forgive me for getting bogged down in details, but this is just for a report on the implications of going ahead with this, or is it a report with us in favor of this?
It's just from my perspective, it's just simply we want to get the information of what it would need to do and how we would.
Okay, yeah.
We're not
Sure.
proceeding with it. Just let's get some detail around
Good.
what it would take.
You bet.
Because we'd have to, when you start buying land and things like
Of
that, you go
course.
into close and all that. So we'll proceed with first step of some information. Further discussion? Councillor Wilbur, did you have a question?
Nope.
Ready for the question? All in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Sorry, I do have one more item very
You're gonna
quickly.
fly the
Thank you,
flag, right?
Councillor Schumann. We have the Norwegian flag group. We're here, and we need to pass a motion to approve the flying of the flag for a week. Jim, was that?
17th,
To the
wasn't it?
7th.
They've asked that you fly it from today until May 17th.
So we got 5 days. So are you moving that?
I would move that.
Yeah.
Seconded, Councillor McFadden. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. So we go back to our delegation. Sorry, we're a little bit late, 9:30. We have a delegation, Mr. Lonnie Shoup and Sergeant Wester in attendance regarding an appeal hearing. Good morning.
Good morning.
So this is a hearing in regards to an appeal hearing for the decline of an application for a chauffeur license. Good morning, Mr. Shoup.
Good morning, sir.
Welcome. Have a chair, and you can.
I seem a little run down. I just haven't slept for a couple days. I've been nervous and everything.
Yeah, no, we certainly appreciate that. It's not
riding
a.
on it.
It's not a. We appreciate it's not a comfortable environment or process if you're not used to it. Even for some of us that are used to
This
it.
was a new one on me, but I'm here to give you my best.
Perfect. That's all we ask. Jim?
Through your worship, just to set a little background for council, the taxi cab industry is actually regulated jointly by the city of Dawson Creek and by the provincial government in Dawson Creek. So determinations about who will hold cab licenses, which companies may own cab licenses and operate within the city of Dawson Creek are made by the provincial government, by the motor carrier division. They also look after things like vehicle safety. Determinations about who can have a chauffeur's permit to actually operate a cab within the community are made by the city of Dawson Creek. You have farmed out the initial decisions to the RCMP. So every application for an individual chauffeur license goes to the local detachment. Sergeant West, as the administrative sergeant, reviews and makes a determination. In this case, the RCMP have made a determination to deny the request for a chauffeur's permit. I believe Sergeant West would be prepared to speak to why that decision was made. You've seen some confidential information around that. But anyone who is denied a chauffeur's permit under those circumstances may apply to council, and it's council's final determination. At the end of this hearing, you will decide either yes, Mr. Shoup can have his chauffeur's permit, or no, he cannot. So maybe you'd like to start with Sergeant West.
Thank you. So, yes, we'll go forward with that.
Mayor and Council, good morning. With respect to a chauffeur's permit, Mr. Lonnie Shoup applied for a chauffeur's permit on April the 29th in Dawson Creek at our detachment. On April the 30th, I declined that, and it would be on the basis of personal information, which council should be aware under the Privacy Act, so that they can make an informed decision. But at this point in time, I'll seek Mr. Shoup's permission to use personal information from police records in order to enter that at the council.
Yes, sir. You bet. You say what you gotta say.
Okay. Mr. Shoup provided all the requisite paperwork to facilitate the application, which includes a British Columbia driving abstract. There's 3 offenses on that driving abstract for speeding, 1 in 2011, 2 in 2012. Ground Birch, Poose, Coop, and Prophet River as we work backwards towards 2011. Is also prohibited by the Superintendent of Motor Vehicles in the province of British Columbia between February 2009 and May 2009. With respect to Mr. Shoup, in a short synopsis, he has a criminal record extending from 1975 through to 2009. The latest case in 2009 being possession of a Schedule 1 substance for the purpose of trafficking. Other offenses, the most recent, as we work backwards from 2009, were impaired operation of a motor vehicle, or more than 80 milligrams of alcohol in the blood under the section of the day, which was 253B of the Criminal Code. And then we work backwards from there, 92, 90, both having to do with mischief, and then again in 1990 for impaired driving or operation while over 08. With respect to the driving offenses and the drug offenses, the drug offense conviction in 2009 was as a result of a search warrant execution at Mr. Shoup's home, in which 3 different types of narcotics were found, or illegal substances were found as a result of the search warrant, that being psilocybin, marijuana, and cocaine. Crown saw fit to go ahead with 1 charge. His criminal record totals 14 convictions from 1975 to the year 2009. His last conviction, of course, for the trafficking. In 2009 to present, there's no convictions, but 1 entry in police files of note for council. He was pulled over in 2012. There was an odor of cannabis in the car, and a subsequent search located 2 grams of cannabis. In that case, officer discretion was utilized, and no charges were forwarded in that particular incident. As a result of the drug involvement and the recent speeding fines and the criminal record, which extends back some time, that and Mr. Shoup is also prohibited from firearms as a result of that 2009 file. That I made the decision to decline to sign his cab license under the application process. There's a notice. The applicant has been convicted or associated with the following offenses in the past 3 years, which is the case here. His or her application may be rejected or present permit be canceled, and that would be an indictable offense under the Criminal Code. Involvement with his or her use or dealing of intoxicants or illicit drugs under the Liquor Control Act, Narcotic Control Act, or the Food and Drug Act, or for any other reason is unfit to act as a chauffeur. With the recent 2012 file, as well as the history extending back into 2009, I chose to decline to sign Mr. Shoup's application for a chauffeur's permit, and referred him to the city office if he wished to have a hearing with respect to his fitness to hold a permit.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate the information, the update. So, good morning, Mr. Shoup.
Okay, now I get a turn.
Yes, you do.
All right, to start with, I hadn't had a drink of alcohol, it's been about 20 years now. I've, anything that's ever been a problem in my life throughout my history, it'll prove, if we dig deep, I've eliminated. I don't smoke cigarettes. I don't smoke the dope, the crack or whatever, the stuff. I fell into a bad way there. I sold a little bit. I found a way to get some easy money. I got out of it. They caught me, I stopped. I've never been around it ever since. I came with a hair's inch of losing my son, who is 7 years old, who lives with me today. I've got a long history that goes back before 75 of work. I've got work records. I've worked for Canada. I've paid my taxes my whole life. The worst thing what I've ever done was selling that stuff. And I kind of got roped into it in a way, like I'm not pinning it on nobody. I take responsibility, but I didn't realize exactly how bad the stuff really was. I came within it, like I say, a hair's breadth of losing my son. The ministry are harder to get off your back than the RCMP in this town. I'm sure everybody knows that. The child social services, if they get their hooks on you, they test you out thoroughly before they let you go. And I've passed every test, and I've got papers from the ministry saying that I am indeed a good guy. I did everything what I could to save my son. It come to the point, like I met the boy's mom. I don't mean to drag her into this by no way, folks. I loved her to death. But she had a habit, and I just came from the bush from Prophet River out working, running power saw. I run power saw for 20 years. I worked hard my whole life. I run into her, and I seen her downtown. She'd come and ask me for a smoke. I didn't smoke or nothing, but we got to know each other, and one thing led to another, and she had this habit, and I didn't really, I bought her some. Things was, I more or less did what I could to keep her because I loved her. But it come to the point where when the police come and raided me, and they told me, the ministry told me, either I let her go out of my life or I keep my son. They put it right on me. I take my pick. It's her or him. I chose him. I let her go. And it was just a few months ago, I got the phone call. It was on my birthday. She died in Prince George from that lifestyle. So if anybody here knows the horrors, the pain and the misery associated with that drug world you're looking at them here today, I've experienced it. I had to go to jail. I'm not a jailbird. I may look a little rough and everything, but I'm not a jailbird. I've never did any time really in jail. It was a scary deal to me. I went there and I changed. The minute they put them handcuffs on me and charged me for that, I changed instantly. When I went to Prince George Jail, they sent me out to the woodpile for labor work. I think what they were giving the guys there, 50 cents a day or something. I went out there and I worked my butt off on that woodpile. And I got chose out of all the prisoners and everything to go to Whistler to set up the camps for the Winter Olympics. They seen good in me. They seen my hard work. I've got records of all my hard work. My only worst thing what I did was that glitch for the cocaine thing, and that's something that I'm dearly sorry for and that I can't change or I would. I got in over my head, and it come to the point where I had to make a call. And I'm not a career criminal. I've worked my whole life since I was a kid. My dad used to drive cab. My daughter, who I raised alone also, I may add, I raised her by myself, and she turned out good. She don't do no drugs whatsoever. She has a few beer. We get in a row about that once in a while, but she's she's young. She works for it. I let her have. I don't ride her too hard, but she doesn't do no drugs or nothing. I've been a role model to her. And my boys never seen me have a cigarette or a joint or a drink or any people come around the house. We could delay this for a day or two and do it again, and I could bring him in. He'd tell you, there's no one comes to our house. I have no friends. I have a bunch of acquaintances, but as far as friends goes, I don't really have any. I stick to myself. I lived out in East Pine for how many years with no power. After getting busted, that's another thing what I did when I got caught. First thing I did is I sold the house what I had in town, which I bought and paid for off the sweat of my back. Nobody's ever given me nothing. I've had to work for it. I sold the house in town and I moved back out to the farm out to East Pine. That's been paid for years ago. And then I have two other little kids. One's 5 and one, he's only 1 year old. If you can believe that. I'm 56. But, and there's another little girl who's 4. I got a call from the ministry. I'd been working and everything like I always have my whole life up until that little bit there. I got a call from Prince George. Them 2 little girls was gonna be, I'd left them in control of their mom. Them 2 little girls were getting put up for adoption. I had to go to Prince George. I shut everything on. I ran down to Prince George, went through all these court cases and everything. And of course, when they did a thorough investigation, they found out I wasn't, the worst guy in town. So they gave me my daughter. I took control of my daughter. And that other little girl, her half sister, they told me I didn't have to take her if I didn't want her. But I'm not the kind of guy that's she's a little blonde girl. My kids are all little dark haired girls. This is a pretty little blonde one. I have pictures. I didn't leave her along the along the tracks to fend for herself. I took her in. I don't work that way. I've got letters from the community like Sandu, the Sandu family, if any of you are familiar with them. They run City Furniture. When they found out I bought a house in town, I sold my little house out at East Pine to put a down payment on a nice house in town. We've got water, we've got power, everything's nice. A nice big yard for the kids. I got my old dog, just going on 14 years old, an old pit bull. She sleeps with me every night, along with my son. We sleep in bed together. I'm not, my bed ain't filled with hookers and dope addicts and everything like that. They don't come around me. They're dealt with harshly if they come around me. It's a small town and they know that. And I send my boy to karate classes with a personal friend of mine, Bill Dufour. I don't know if any of you are familiar with him. He's studying karate. And I was honored the other night. Bill asked me, we have these young guys that goes out and fights in the karate tournaments representing Canada, or Dawson Creek here, I mean. I was asked to come in, like years ago I was a boxer. I fought for years. I represented Canada over in England. I fought all over the place. And I won all my fights mostly. I was asked to come in and teach some striking to the kids and men, young guys that are going out to these tournaments. I'm gonna start giving back to the community now. It's not all just talk. I'm gonna actually go in there and strap these gloves on and give my sweat and blood for the city to make these kids better, sharper fighters. Like, it's my hope that Canada, or Dawson Creek here will turn out a gold medalist in the Olympics is shooting shooting high. But there's the Pan American Games, the Commonwealth Games. Commonwealth Games especially, that's an easier one. I fought for the Canadian Championship years ago. I beat 2 different Canadian champions right in their own ring. I was Athlete of the Year in Dawson. I have some good history behind me too. And I worked hard my whole life. Last 20 years or so, I run that power saw. That's hard work. We get dropped off in the hills back at Bucking Horse Hills. I'm the man in charge. I got 3 guys behind me. I cut first the swath and these guys come behind me. If things start getting shaky and hairy, this is the days before the GPS. They need somebody there who's responsible, man enough to get these guys to where they're supposed to be, and if the weather turns and stuff. And that was me. I've got a lot of respect for a lot of good people too. The good sergeant here, I don't blame you doing your job, but you've made me out to be a pretty bad guy. That's your opinion. I have opinions from other people that says different. And here's what I stand to lose right here. I stand to lose more than just a piece of paper that says class 6. I stand to lose my home, what I've worked my whole life for, and these are, I'll hold them up here. These are the little girls that was going to be taken away. I saved them, that little blonde one. She's not even mine, but she thinks the world of me. I'm her dad. She loves me. And this is my youngest son, Ian Lonnie. He's a cute little guy, and this is the one who lives with me. He's even the cutest of the whole works. The little blonde, the little curly haired guy, who is a spitting image of his mother, who I did everything. I bent over backwards trying to get her to fly straight. It didn't happen. I had to cut her loose. Wasn't a couple of years after that she died, and a horrible death. And I feel as if I should have did more to save her, but I can't. I'm just letting you know I'm never going to be around the drugs again. I'm not just saying this. I've been thoroughly hair tested by the ministry and everything, and I'm not going to lose my son. And I got unlimited credit with the Sandu family over there to get back to them. When they found out I was buying a house, they said, come on into the store, walk through, take whatever you want. I said, well, where do I sign? Well, this deal's done on a handshake. That's got to carry, a little bit of weight in the family. Ted Sandu, the family didn't get to where they are by giving no good people credit. I've dealt with them for years. They know my history. The staff sergeant, I've never seen him before in my life. Not a once. It's the first I've seen you. And you're doing your job, and I appreciate that. But I'm letting you know, I know people that have been in this community for a long time that says different. They know, the ministry knows. If I was to slip now and be involved in drugs, all my kids would be taken away from me on a hair's breadth, and I know that. And I know how the ministry acts. They act on hearsay. They don't need proof. If the community talks, people saying I'm involved in drugs, they come and they take your kids. That's how that goes. You know that, sir. I'm just telling you, I'm an innocent man here, and I wouldn't, if I'm going to have to go to the gallows, basically, I put everything on this to get this job. I studied hard. Another thing, when I first phoned up to talk to a staff sergeant, I talked to a gentleman by the name of Staff Sergeant Milo McDonald, his name was, and he had told me, I asked him, I said, before I spend money on all this taxi driving training and license and everything, am I going to be okay to get it? He says, yes. He gave me his word, everything was going to be fine. I wouldn't say this now even if it wasn't true, especially in front of you. He said, yes, I can get my license. And if there's any problems, phone me. He said, who am I to stand in the way of progress? He says, your name don't come up. You've been doing the right thing and everything. I had that one little bad part there, and I'm not blaming it on the boy's mom. I'm not even insinuating that. I'm a grown man. I know my thing, but I did not realize how powerful and strong and dirty and disgusting that stuff is. And when it comes right down to it, I'm all for sending these guys to jail, and I would even go so far as to say I know it's a small town, everybody knows you guys do your spring cleanup and you get rid of all these bad guys. You just did it a little while ago. If you were to do this 2 or 3 times a year, this stuff would never be in the community. I don't know what the funding is in your guys' end, but you cleaned up good there. You got all these people just a while ago. Every so often you do that in the spring. Now if you were to do that 2 or 3 times a year, you'd never get these new guys a chance to set up and start selling this stuff around it. The community would be clean. Like, all I'm saying is I'm putting my life on the line here. I got the letter I got a job instantly. Like, I could have kept working where I was working. Here's all my tickets also, by the way. I worked in the oil field since around, I was pretty young. It's around 75 or so, I guess. These are all my tickets. They're valid right now. I can go back in the patch, but if I do, my next job with the outfit I was with is up in Grand Cache. What's going to happen to my old dog, my house, my kid? I get my other kids on the weekends. Like the boy, I sent him to school in Shetland, all through grade 1. That's living out there with no power and stuff. And I'd have to start the car up, drive all the way down to the bridge. It's a little ways away. Send him to school. He's always the first one on the bus. It was tough. And then the last one, he'd come home, he'd be tired. It'd be dark when he'd come home. And I'd get him, I'd carry him up, because we lived back anyways. I'd have to literally carry him up fair ways up the hill, up to where the car was parked and everything. And it was a hard going, but I felt better then than what I ever did. I've lived that way most of my life. I come to town now for the simple fact, I'd have stayed out there. I had it made. That place was paid for. But then the little girls and the little guy and everything, like I brought them little girls, I brought them home. I like to feel as if I saved their lives from going into somewhere where they shouldn't. That was because I had them in their mom's care. Now my name is on there, so things are different. They're not going to ever go away. They're not going to suffer. I'm the rock in their life to lean on. That don't drink, don't smoke, do no drugs, works, got a home, does everything. I'm trying my hardest, folks. You have to believe me. I do not, I would give my life for my son. Any one of them.
Well, there's certainly, your passion that you're speaking for your children is evident. There's no question about that. So.
It just revolves to the fact that if I was to be involved in the drugs, like he says, I know what I've got to lose. I've got lots to lose that I've worked for, honestly. And I'm the kind of guy, too, that if I see somebody laying on the ground, I'll stop my car and I'll help pick them up. I don't know if you've seen this couple, there's an old native lady and the old white guy, they're hanging around town. They're new guys in town. I pulled over the other day and I gave them $15 out of my wallet. I said to her, the old lady kind of reminded me of my mom, you know. I do that every so often, only to old people. I don't give these young ones nothing. You know, a rough time if they, you know, try to ask me for anything maybe. But the old people, I've always stopped and helped them out. If they're new in town and I see that, you know, they're looking a little desperate looking, I'll stop over and ask them how they're doing and give them a few bucks if I got it.
Yeah, so I'm going to have to cut you off because we've got a delegation coming at 10 o'clock in our closed meeting. So I'm going to turn it over to council. Does anyone have a question? Councillor Parslow.
Yeah, I did have a question that you answered about why are you seeking this chauffeur's license. I now understand that. When was your last driving infraction?
It's been quite a while ago. I did my homework. Everything is right here. Everything's good according to this book. Everything. I got the paperwork right here that says I'm good to get that.
2 speeding tickets, 2012, according to to Sergeant West.
2012 speeding ticket.
I studied this book. What they give out, I passed every stipulation what they could. I went and got my abstract. I put a few marks in there. All pulls down to the fact that I'm good to get my ticket. The only thing that would jeopardize that would be my past record.
And if it helps council, with respect to the speeding tickets, I would term that as being a very minor offense.
Right. The impaired driving, when was that?
Those would stretch back some years, and that would be a criminal record. And
20 years since I had a drink. No impaired's ever again here.
Councillor McFadden?
Well, I think my question's been answered, but
1997.
to
1997.
to the sergeant, when one appears to apply for a chauffeur's license, do they have to show some evidence that they have employment waiting? Should they get
Yes, they do, and there was a letter signed by De Winters,
Okay.
who operate the cab company within Dawson Creek.
Thank you.
Further questions?
One more thing, sir.
Yep.
I didn't just jump into this at the last moment. Well, I've been working for years. I've been planning on getting a house in town, like, you know, what other people got, a nice place, and I got a beautiful place. I didn't just jump at it. I looked at about a dozen places, because I'm 56, I'm old. I can't afford no slips. It's too hard to rebuild. I make my money off the sweat of my back. All last winter, I'm rolling around out in the ground, building these gas plants, 40 below, I'm laying on the ground. The guy's laying beside me, he's 20 or 18 years old. Just kids. And I got my lift ticket, so I go up in the baskets way up high, working on these pipes. I'm working right square into the wind. And it's brutal. There's not a lot. I always outlast everybody. I always have. There's not a lot of guys can take that. And I'm doing it because it's honest money. And I got my tickets, I can continue doing it. But I'd like to be able to work in the community, keep my boy in the karate classes and the swimming, get my other little kids on the weekends. I was good enough, I let their mom have them. But I'm fully prepared under, you know, everybody's got a history. I'm there to take them. The girls got their own bedroom. I got a washer and dryer. Life has been the best it's ever been for me now. And I'm not gonna wreck it.
Okay, I think you made your case very well.
Thank you.
Further questions? So, through Jim, our position here is to uphold or allow the appeal.
That's correct.
Motion. Councillor McFadden,
I would vote to allow the appeal.
move to allow the appeal. Seconded. Councillor Wilbur, discussion. So we're allowing the appeal of the refusal. So you'd be, the motion then, for clarity, would be
to grant.
to grant the chauffeur's license. Further discussion? You ready for the question? All in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Mr. Shoup? The council has agreed to allow you to get your chauffeur's license.
I won't let none of yous down. Like I said, I'm an old dog. I got these little ones. I'm not, if they were to take them from me, I might as well just go put a gun to my head. That's my feelings.
You're
They're
good.
everything what I got, and I will do what I could to keep them.
You're good to go.
Thank you. And I appreciate you putting a good word in for me, sir.
Well,
That
Thank
helped.
you. So we'll take a break for 5 minutes?
Maybe I can get some sleep now. It's been a rough go.
Regular, and I'm gonna, with all due respect to our guests and things, I'd like to complete our open before we go back into closed. Otherwise, the media and everybody have to come back after. So, if we can, we don't have a ton left on our agenda for our open. So, with everybody's agreement, we'll get back in. I finished mayor's business, and next item on the agenda is item 10, or 10.1 is the Calvin Crook Center for the Arts update. And I think Duncan's here to give us a bit of an update this morning.
Morning.
Morning, Duncan.
So, Calvin Crook Center update. First item I wanted to update on is the water leak during last council visit. While we were walking through the building, we were looking at an area where there had been some water on the main floor. So after follow-up, in short, what happened was there's two valves. So there's a rainwater harvesting system to catch the water off of the roof. When that rainwater harvesting system is full, it automatically, or automated system switches it over to another valve that, or opens another valve that allows the water to go out into the city infrastructure. That valve did not open as a result of some work that was happening in the building that week while the consultants were up. So both valves closed off. The water backed up through the pipe, was sitting in the pipe, and found a weak spot and began to leak. So that's been remediated. We're looking after that to ensure that that doesn't happen again. Moving forward in the building, just trying to update kind of from when council was last in there. So all of the drywall in the building is complete. They're just doing a little bit of mudding and taping, but I'd say they're about 99.9% done drywall and mudding. All of the rooms have received at least one coat of paint. They've got their primer. Some have even received two, such as the archives area. All framing for the glazing is complete, so areas such as the fronts on the dance studios are ready to go. They're framed in. They're just waiting on the glass now. And glazing has actually started in some locations, so around the archives doors they have glass in that area now, and in the practice studios there's also glass in there. They've started the tiling in the bathrooms, so the flooring. By this meeting, I would say that by the end of this meeting, the tiling is pretty much done for the flooring in the bathroom, so it's all tiled. They'll be putting fixtures in this week and putting in their stalls. So bathrooms will be done by the end of the week. Last week we had our monthly meeting, bringing everybody together. This was the largest meeting we've had so far, as we're nearing kind of that completion date. We had the commissioning agent who's directly hired by the city. He was in the building confirming that the building systems are working, in particular the mechanical system, to ensure that that system is operating properly, installed properly, and is meeting the LEED requirements so that we can pursue the LEED Gold. He's come up with a work plan. It's a comprehensive work plan, but he's confident it can be completed within our completion date. He's going to press on GK Mechanical to ensure that they get on there and they understand what needs to be done. We also had the theater consultant in town. So he comes in, looks at the theater to ensure that everything infrastructure-wise is in place, so they can come in and put in their speakers and put in their microphones and put in their lights and all the other stage requirements such as the curtain. He's quite happy with everything that's on site, and he will be bringing up the theater group within the next month. So we'll have that theater equipment being installed in June. Work remaining on site right now at this point. Landscaping, which is going to be starting either this week or next week. They're going to start hammering that out, develop the playground. The actual playground equipment and ground is the responsibility of KPAP, but Heggie will look after all the landscaping around that site, the fencing, the parking stalls, and so on. There's the work on the mechanical system that I noted. The flooring, which is taking place this week. They're starting with their sprung floor either end of this week or next week, and finishing our glazing and finishing our painting are the key areas that need to be completed here in the next couple months. KPAC, we've received the operating lease agreement from KPAC. That has been signed, so we have that now. And last item, we're working on our grand opening. We're just trying to confirm dates. It's looking like early September right now, but we need to confirm the dates with our grant representatives, the Building Canada Fund, which will be local, provincial, and federal representatives. And we're just confirming the dates, hoping early September, hoping to have the event when KPAC is in there, but the building is not quite operational yet. So in that window in between before it gets a lot of use, but when they have their stuff in there and they're ready to go. That's all I have to report on.
Thank you, Duncan.
Any questions?
Good news. Great. Any comments from council? Good job. The one component I don't know we would have the conversation about, but do we start the planning and discussion now about the decommissioning of the old building and some of the components around that in terms of what happens to that and how we plan for that?
We've done some work as far as hazardous materials assessments on the building, and we also had Plant and Associates go through the building and help us on that side of it, but I kicked that one to Jim, yeah.
Through your worship, that was a strategic priority that you kicked forward to next year's strategic priority discussion because you didn't feel you were ready to proceed.
Okay. I'm thinking about is some components around if the facility, that building is now empty for winter, there's some things that we need to. Anyway, we'll leave it till later. Thank you, Duncan. Great
Okay.
job.
And I believe Councillor McFadden had a question about the grandstands that he
Yes.
was hoping to comment on.
Just the progress and how it's coming along.
Okay, so the grandstands are approximately 50% complete. They have the queue decking down for the seating, and I was there yesterday, and they have the wood. They're started on the first section, and they're moving their way through. So at this time, it's looking like it's going to be well ahead of the completion date.
Thank you.
Good job. Thank you. Consent calendar. Councillor Schumann, Councillor Malkinson, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Do we need to do those items 1 and 2, or just receive them as they were through the consent calendar?
Yeah, you've just received
Yeah,
them.
Received.
perfect. Strategic priorities.
Nothing new on the chart, your worship?
Question and answer.
No assigned up.
Media question period.
I had one question for clarification. Regarding the temporary foreign workers program, I didn't catch the motion that I believe you made, Councilor Wilbur.
I need it read back to me.
It was that we're going to send a letter of support and ensuring that the federal government resolve this issue as it relates for us to our hospitality industry.
So you would send it to Bob Zimmer, or where would you direct it?
Yeah, I think we will send it to the federal government through to the Minister of Kenny, I think, is the minister responsible. But we would absolutely involve our federal representative, Bob Zimmer.
Thank you.
And I had three, are you done, Joe?
Yes,
I had three similar questions along the lines about what actually happened with the smoke-free public places. What was ultimately decided there?
So we're going to bring that back through committee of the whole to have a more fulsome discussion with Canadian Cancer Society in regards to some of the implications around the bylaw and the process, and implications for us as a community in terms of enforcement and how and where and what it means to our community. So we just want to have a more fulsome discussion around it.
And then the residential development committee, what was ultimately decided there?
So we're going to send out another advertisement into the community seeking more involvement from people interested that may be wanting to involve themselves in the committee.
Okay, and last but not least, Honeybee Day.
Honeybee Day.
The proclamation regarding the honeybees, what ultimately was decided there?
We're going to seek a local representative to perhaps attend at our next council meeting,
Okay.
and
To make that proclamation.
to make that proclamation, because our policy does indicate that we will only have a proclamation if there's a local community member or somebody in person attending.
All right, that should do it, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the media? Thank you. So we're going to recess to our closed, and moved by McFadden, seconded by Malkinson. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you attending this morning.